Tonight, we are talking about free energy audits for faith buildings in Nova Scotia. We've got some really interesting speakers with us, and I'm going to start the evening off with a land acknowledgement, and then we will introduce our speakers and we'll get right into the topic. And at the end, there will be an opportunity for discussion and Q&A. So if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to put them in the Q&A. You should see a button either at the top or bottom of your screen with a Q&A option. And we'll turn your microphones on at the end when we open up for discussion, so you can ask questions. The Better Building Speaker Series is taking place in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral, unceded, and unsurrendered territory of the Mi'kmaq. We're grateful to live in this place that has been home to Linu since time immemorial. We honor past, present, and future traditional knowledge keepers. We honor and support Indigenous sovereignty and the peace and friendship treaties that bind us all in relationship. As an environmental organization working in these lands and waters, the Ecology Action Centre is committed to upholding our responsibilities as treaty people and to working toward decolonization and environmental justice. I'll just ask our presenters to introduce themselves. Stephen, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Hannah. Hello, everyone. My name's Stephen Collette. I'm with Faith in the Common Good. We're a multi-faith national nonprofit. We work with all faiths, coast to coast. I'm located in Lakefield, Ontario, northeast of Toronto, west of Ottawa, and I am the building audit manager and general overall building nerd. So I'm happy to be here today.
Thank you, Stephen. Billy.
Hello, good evening. My name is Billy Wolf. I am an energy advisor with the Clean Foundation. One of a handful of us at the Clean Foundation, and one of the people that will be coming to actually do the assessment and compile the reports for this exercise.
Thanks, Billy. Eben.
Hi, thanks, Hannah. My name's Eben Fry. I am also an energy advisor with the Clean Foundation. I've been at it for about 12 years now, so been in lots of buildings, and I'm coming to you from St. Margaret's Bay, Nova Scotia.
Thanks, Eben. Katie.
Hello, my name is Katie Giles. I'm a senior manager with our energy department at Clean Foundation. And for those who may not be familiar with Clean, we're an environmental nonprofit organization. And we're excited to work on this project with the Ecology Action Centre. I'm not officially presenting, but here in case anything comes up in the question session afterwards. And yeah, excited with the presentation tonight.
Thanks so much, Katie. And I'm going to give a shout out to my colleague, David Nira, who is also on the energy team, who's our tech person tonight. So thanks so much, David. Right, we will jump right into our presentations. We're going to start with Stephen Collette, and I'm going to turn it over to you. Stephen will talk to you for a few minutes, about 10 minutes, about the work that he does. And then we will move on to Eben and Billy, who will talk to you about the energy audit process, what that looks like. And then I'll be giving a presentation on behalf of my colleagues at Efficiency Nova Scotia about rebates, and then we'll open it up for some discussion. Stephen, over to you.
Thanks, Anna. First off, I really appreciate everybody taking time to be here today. I know you're all volunteers, and to take any time out of your day to do something with your faith community, it is a form of worship, and certainly I respect and appreciate your form of worshiping with us today. So I think that's awesome. And I recognize a couple names, so I think there's a few of you who I've talked to before or met. So I think that's awesome as well that you're coming out. This topic is about energy audits for faith buildings. And ultimately the question is why? you know, why should you? Why could you? Why bother? Let's just go get some money from Efficiency Nova Scotia and just carry on. Well, the answer is we need to understand our buildings. And faith community buildings, whether they be churches or mosques or synagogues or whatever, they perform differently than our homes. They can have somewhat similar construction. There can be wood, there can be hollow walls, there can be seaweed in the attic, as I've learned. But they can perform differently. And because of the larger volumes, because of the bigger spaces, because of the bigger mechanicals, bigger windows, everything's a little different and it can be a little exaggerated. And if we don't understand how our building works, we can't figure out the best ways to fix it and to save energy. Right? If you don't have a metric, you don't have a measurement, you don't have a way forward. So it's really important to understand our buildings. The other thing is we're volunteers, most of us, right? And it's not our full-time job. We're not the experts in that, you know, we put our time in on you know, during service and maybe after service and be on things like this and committees and maybe, you know, like gardens or whatever. We're not the experts. And so having someone come and talk to you about your building and explain to you how it works and where your energy is going can be really, really insightful. Now, many of you may have already had home energy audits and had folks like Billy and Eben in your homes, you know, and just showing you things, you're just like, wow, I had no idea. It's the exact same way. The difference is the faith community is not your money, right? It's money that you're going to take and vote as a committee on how to spend the money. And that can be really difficult for many people. Oh, we don't want to spend the money. We don't want to, you know, let's just put some band-aids on it. Well, sometimes you have to spend the money to move forward, you know. And so to have an understanding, to have an opportunity to figure out where you're at with the building operation and where the opportunity lies can show you a path forward that can save you a lot of energy. Okay. Now, by saving energy, we're saving money. And I'm English, Irish, French, and Scotch. So I have all the cheap covered. So we want to save money. But when we're saving money with our faith community, we have more money for mission. And that's really important to think about the opportunity that you have to do what you love doing, what you're good at, reaching out into your community in whatever way you do that. And that's the opportunity. And a great example, we had one faith community just today in Nova Scotia. They were a United Church. Now, United Churches have some extra funds, which I'll mention in a second, and got some money from Efficiency Nova Scotia and went from oil heat to heat pumps. And in 2023, they saved $500. This is a very small rural church, very traditional, very typical of what many of you could be worshiping in. Save $500 out of the gate. That's pretty amazing. And so it's opportunities like this. Where do we start? Well, it's hard to figure out where to start. You want to think about the easy payback things like lights. Things like thermostats. Your appliances in your kitchen will be one of the largest consumers of electricity in your building, right? Because if you've got a lovely donated old fridge from 1970, it's costing you a fortune. It's costing you a fortune to operate. So thinking about those kind of things, right? And then we get into the insulation and the air sealing and then the furnace or boiler. Now, certainly the prices of oil are rising. We can all see that. We know that's happening. And so with the rising price of oil, it's certainly a climate crisis issue, but it's also a finite resource. It's just a fact. There's only a fixed amount of oil in the ground. And so with prices rising, that impacts your bottom line. The opportunities with Efficiency Nova Scotia, with grants, with free audits like these delivered by Clean Foundation. it can really help you make these decisions and help put money back in your pockets and put you on a path towards a better place. Okay. A lot of people think that like windows and solar panels are really where we should be going when we're thinking about environmental opportunities. And those are actually the really longest paybacks. Okay, we want to do the simple things first. If you want to do solar panels and you have the avocado green or harvest gold fridge in the kitchen, it's going to take 3 extra panels to power that beast, and it's way cheaper to replace the fridge. Okay. And so we want to think about that. The same with windows. On faith community buildings, your windows are not your opportunity. They're not your opportunity in your home either, actually. It's more the air leakage around those windows. And that's where having a set of eyes that knows what to look for on the site, be like, this is where the opportunity lies, can really help you sharpen your pencils and really help you laser focus into what money you do have, how to spend it judiciously and appropriately to get the best bang for your dollar. Okay. Now, there's a couple of United Church people here I recognize in the participants. So I just want to highlight, for those who are part of the United Church of Canada, there is another grant available to you if you're not connected yet, called the Faithful Footprints Grant Program. That's faithfulfootprints.org for the United Church of Canada members. Okay, and they can access up to $20,000 or $30,000 for energy efficiency or decarbonizing grants. And I just happen to be running that grant program as well. So I want to give a shout out. If anyone here is with United Churches, don't forget you can participate in that, as well as the Efficiency Nova Scotia, as well as the free audits offered by Clean Foundation. So it's like a triple whammy. For those not in the United Church of Canada, for those in the Anglicans, synagogues, mosques, everyone else, certainly recommend you reach out to your diocese, to your regional councils, to the bureaucracy within your faith tradition, and see if there are other opportunities. It's really important, not just from the money for you, but also reminding your faith tradition that this is important. It's important to the people, to the members of your faith tradition. And so it is important to reach out and say, hey, climate crisis is serious. Climate crisis is something we're concerned about. We want to be able to help with this, and we want some support doing that. So it's really important to empower yourselves, but also empower your faith as a whole. And that's a great opportunity. Faith in the Common Good. I'll put some links in the chat once I'm done. Faith in the Common Good. We do have lots of free tools for all faith communities. Green rules, how to talk about environmental stewardship within your faith, all that sort of stuff. So I'll put those in the chat, and I'll put the Faithful Footprints for the United Churches in the chat as well. But it's just a matter of just sitting back and going, yeah, I know a lot. I'm handy. I'm good with the tools, but I could use some support and really help to make a great solid plan moving forward. And that's where I think these free audits are a really amazing opportunity. I had the deep pleasure and honor to come out and work with Eben and Billy and their colleagues, and I didn't have to show them much. I'm the faith building guy. That's my job. But boy, oh boy, like we were in the second building and they were leading the show. So we've got some amazingly talented people in Nova Scotia. And what's amazing is this is the only program of its kind across Canada. And so missing out on this program would be a shame because it really is brilliant. So happy to support it. And I think with that, that's probably all I have to say, unless Hannah, there's something else I was supposed to talk about that I didn't. Otherwise, I'll pass it back over to Hannah.
Thanks so much, Stephen. That was fantastic. I don't think you missed anything. And I'm just noticing that, Stephen, we might, as panelists, we might not be able to put things in the chat that reaches the group. So if you could put those links in for David, and it looks like then as host, David will be able to share those with the group. If for some reason that doesn't work, we will send them out via email. to you. So thanks, Stephen. That was fantastic. And I appreciate that you'll be sharing links to Faith in the Common Good and the Faithful Footprints program. And I'd like to turn it over to Billy and Even from the Clean Foundation, who will talk to you about what an energy audit actually looks like, what might be in a report, and other aspects of the on the ground energy audit.
Yeah, thank you, Hannah. So I'll begin, and then I'll maybe Even and I can kind of tag team a little bit in discussing this. So so as Stephen suggested, there may be a few of you that have had an energy assessment done on your house or on a commercial building or whatever. In a nutshell, it's where we an energy advisor comes to take a look at your building in order to determine more or less how energy efficient it is right now, and help you to identify some ways in which it can be made more so. So in a real simple nutshell, that's what it is. So it's really fascinating for us to be able to come into a faith building, because they vary so much from one building to another, and there are some really interesting aspects to these buildings. Really exciting for us building science nerds to be able to see all of the different kind of components that you might not find it in a house or in a different kind of commercial building, perhaps. So I just wanted to talk about, sort of like the how this faith building audit process will work from the beginning point. So as I understand it, the Ecology Action Centre will have a link that you can go to, which I think Hannah will be sharing later, in order to book or to register your interest in having an audit done. And I think that then your information gets passed on to the Clean Foundation, and one of my very, very lovely colleagues in our bookings team will be reaching out to schedule you in for that assessment, right? A date and a time. Part of our process as energy advisors, whenever we're doing an assessment, is that we like to do a little bit of prep. So on our end, once we get that booked in, we'll be looking up the building. We'll be looking at the where it is on the map. We'll if you have an online presence, probably we'll be looking at your website to see what your organization is all about. Looking at the street view, that kind of thing, just to get us so that we have a sense of your building and what we're walking into. And we'll be giving you a call beforehand to confirm the appointment, and that would also be a great opportunity. That call that we make in advance will be a great opportunity to discuss any kind of expectations for visitors to your building, any customs that we should be following, if there's a certain way, if there's anything that we should be wearing or doing as we enter the building, that kind of thing. That would be a great opportunity to discuss, so that we're ready for that. So when it comes time to the assessment, we'll be arriving, and we'll begin by a really sort of informal meet and greet, introducing ourselves, getting to know you, and getting to and also checking what activities there might be happening in the building at that time. Sometimes we're going to be doing these audits, and there isn't going to be anything happening in the building at all. And sometimes it's going to be really busy with activity. So there might be other users in the building while we're doing the assessment. So just kind of getting a lay of the land, see what's going on at that moment in time. And then, I just wanted to say that when we do these assessments, for us anyway, on our end of things, there is no rush. We really want to be able to take our time. We want to be able to take our time and see as much of the building as we can, as you'll kindly allow, and really get probably do quite a lot of measurements and photographs and that kind of thing, and we want to see as much as possible. But the other thing that we want to do is we want to really get to know you, as in get to know the organization, get to know the people that are there with us with the assessment, taking us on the tour, and get to know about your organization and about its place in the community and your mission and your programs as well. Because it's really important to know that it's not just about the building and its components, it's about how the building is used, right? And it's about when it's used, how much is it used day to day, and by who, how many people are coming and going through the doors, and what are they doing when they're in the building. That all weighs into ultimately what the recommendations are going to be for improving the energy efficiency of the building. So to that end, I think for us, where possible, the ideal situation is that when we come to do the assessment, is that we're meeting somebody from the organization, from the team there, to that really knows, that the person that knows the building the best on a practical level. But it could be that there are multiple people attending in full or part, so who can also talk about the history of the organization and the history of the building, and the community that you serve a little bit, so that we can get a sense of that. So once we've got past all of those introductions and getting to know you, then we'll get onto the more technical stuff. So we'll start walking around and looking at stuff, and maybe even you could talk a little bit about that from that point onwards.
Yeah, all right. Well, thanks, Billy. Yeah, thanks for that. I'll probably keep it pretty brief. I think that was pretty good. You covered a lot there. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge the really cool training that we got to do with Stephen a few weeks ago. It's always exciting to get out with someone. Yeah, I've been looking at buildings for a long time, but this is one of the preeminent building scientists in Canada. So to have an opportunity to learn and have the way he looks at things was really, really cool. So yeah, and I'm glad he was able to pick up a little bit from us too. That's always nice to hear. Yeah, I guess I'll pick up where Billy left off in terms of what you can expect down the road in terms of a report. We've gone through several different templates, but we've kind of come up with something I think that we're pretty comfortable with now. So basically, it'll be sort of a checklist of common issues within all buildings, whether they be faith buildings or homes or whatever. Common areas of concern, so heating, windows, doors, insulation, moisture content, things like that, air quality. And we will prioritize like how urgent we feel some of these issues might be. So if they're not an issue at all, if they're a minor thing that maybe could bear some looking into, or something that kind of dramatically requires your attention, and so we'll be really clear about those. We'll also share photographs of depicting the examples. We'll send that all out to you. You'll also have, I think, access to us down the road if you have questions in terms of, okay, this is something that we might want to address. So best practices around insulation, air sealing, things like that. If it's not in the report, you'd have some access to the advisor prepared it so that, to clarify anything that might be in there, if it's not in the report itself. I know that a lot of our homeowners find that quite beneficial. So, I can't see no reason why that wouldn't be the case here as well. And what else? I think that's really it. I think that, yeah, Billy, you did a great job of wrapping it up, man. Didn't leave much for me to talk about. So thank you.
Yeah, so thanks. I just want to clarify that when we say we want to look at the whole building, we really want to look at the whole building.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
go from the bottom-most level of the building up to the topmost level of the building where possible. And it's not always possible, but where possible. If there are any areas like that which are going to be locked up, let's try to make sure that we can get access to that while we're while we're there for the assessment. Everything factors into it. So as much as we can see.
Yeah, absolutely. We love poking around in basements and attics and everywhere that most folks don't stray in their houses or their buildings very often. That's where we like to get to. One of the places.
Even could you also talk about in terms of the report and your suggestions? Can you tie in with what Billy was talking about, the importance of learning about how the building is used, the community, and how that relates to maybe different levels of suggestions in terms of
Absolutely.
from
Yeah,
cheapest to most expensive?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Hannah, for that. Yeah, you're right. Like how the building is being used is such a huge component of this, because if you're only, running your heating system a couple hours a week, well, then do you need a top of the line heating system? Things like that. So we'll definitely take that into account when prioritizing these potential upgrades or areas of interest. So we, in everything we do, we try to keep in mind how the structure is being used. Yeah, and also cost will come into that. It might be a low priority thing, but a very easy, low cost fix financially. So, those maybe would tend to have a higher priority than some of the major cost things, even though those things might be bigger contributors to the energy consumption. They might be not as easily addressed or certainly not as affordably addressed. So definitely we'll keep that in mind. And that's something we try to figure out a little bit in our initial meeting with whomever showing us around, is to get an idea of what the priorities of the community are as well. It's not for us to say, necessarily where you should be investing your money or what you've got to work with. So having as much of that information as possible is always going to inform the reports as well.
Thanks so much, Billy and Even. That was really informative. And I love the way you talk about the sense of the community and the fact that there's no rush during the process. From what I understand, I think on average, the time that you'll have is about 3 hours. Sometimes it will take less, and sometimes it will take the full 3 hours. So just so that people have that sense as well of timing. As we mentioned before, you're welcome to put your questions in the Q&A. There's should be a button either at the bottom or top of your screen for that, depending on if you're a Mac or PC user. I see there's already a question in there. And after the presentation that I'm giving on behalf of Efficiency Nova Scotia, we'll open up the floor for conversation, and we'll also unmute you. Unfortunately, this is a webinar, so we can't put your cameras on, but we can put your mics on, and we'll do that in a few minutes. All right, I'm going to share my screen and magically turn myself into Lindsay Leckie from the Efficiency Nova Scotia. Just give me a moment. All right, I hope everyone can see that. If I could just maybe get a thumbs up from...
You're good.
Great, thanks. So Efficiency Nova Scotia, as you know, has a number of rebate programs that they offer. One of them includes incentives for faith buildings, and you are connected to that through their small business program. So Lindsay Leckie is the manager of the Small Business Development Program. Lindsay's email and phone number are here on this slide. We can also add them to the chat later. So if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to reach out to Lindsay, and she sends her regrets. She had another commitment this evening. So what I'll go over in this short presentation is the small business program, the incentives, the eligible measures, some information that's required, and how you can access those incentives. So the small business is any business that consumes less than 350,000 kilowatts of electricity annually. There is also a large business program. So if your faith organization doesn't fit within the small business, there is a different program you can look at. But we estimate that most of the faith organizations in Nova Scotia will fit within this program. And so the program is called Small Business Energy Solutions. The funding is for electric and non-electric efficiency upgrades. The paths are for retrofits only, not for new builds, and they all require pre-approval. And the energy audit that the Clean Foundation energy auditors conduct does provide you access. It qualifies you to apply for the Small Business Energy Solutions program. And the incentives are increased rebates, and they also offer interest-free financing. So I'll just go over the rebates and the financing briefly, and I'm happy to share this slide deck with anyone afterwards if they're interested. So the minimum rebates listed are in their rebate guides, which are on their website. We can share a link to that as well. So for example, if you're replacing a 4-foot long fluorescent tube with an LED, you might get up to $6 as a rebate. The rebates are for most, not all measures, and they're based on how much energy you save. So for example, lights and heat pumps can be rebated at 40 cents per kilowatt hour of the first year energy savings. Water heaters and kitchen equipment are a little bit less at 25 cents per kilowatt hour. And they will fund up to 80% of your pre-tax project cost, which is very generous. The financing is only for electric to electric upgrades. So for example, fluorescent lamps to LED, electric resistance baseboards to heat pumps, and you have to be a Nova Scotia Power customer. You can't be on a municipal line. For example, in Antigonish, they have municipal power. And you have to be regularly paying a power bill. The benefits for their financing are that it's interest-free, which is great, up to 24 months, and it's repaid through your electricity bill. I'll just give you an example that they put together based on a faith organization with electric baseboards. So this is for the financing example. So they did an upgrade to mini split heat pumps. They applied to the program prior to purchasing and installing and are a Nova Scotia customer, regularly paying power bills. So their estimated first year savings was 7,500 kilowatts an hour. Their after-tax cost was $5,000. They got a rebate of $3,000 and they were approved for financing. And so that means that the Efficiency Nova Scotia issues a check to the faith organization to pay for the work. And then the form of repayment is calculated, as you can see on the second to bottom line here, ends up being $83.33 a month, which is paid back on the power bill over the next couple of years, 2 years. And if you want to know what level of financing you would receive, then you just do need to submit an application to Efficiency Nova Scotia. And you can talk to Lindsay Leckie about that. There are some application forms, guides, and worksheets available on the website. And this is the website here. Whoops, I clicked ahead. And we'll put that link in the chat for you. The eligible measures, when they talk about verticals, they're talking about the different kinds of things that you would be upgrading. For example, lighting, heating, water heating. They also include things like a commercial kitchen, commercial refrigeration, pumping, VFDs, and laundry. So it really depends on what you're doing in your faith-based organization and in the community. If you have a food bank, for example, you're doing a lot of community meals, you might see some potential for upgrades in your commercial kitchen space. There are rebate guides that are available, and the guides are one for each, as they call them, vertical. So one for lighting, heating. As you can see, the example here is for commercial heating rebate, and it talks about heat pumps. And these detail all the eligibility requirements and the minimum rebates that are available. So all this information is available through the website and through Lindsay Leckie. These are just examples to show you what they look like. You'll be given a worksheet to collect some information about the equipment that you have, then you're looking at replacing, from lighting right the way through to heat pumps. And this is to calculate the energy savings. And this helps then to inform the amount of rebate that you will get. So they need information like model numbers, certification numbers, the quantity, like are you placing a dozen fluorescent tubes, 40, the wattages, run times, fuel source, and so on. And so these sheets are provided to you once you sign up for the program. If you're doing things like building envelope that are not covered by the prescriptive rebate guides, those are then considered differently. And you need to save over 1,000 kilowatts per kilowatt hours or equivalent. And they have a less than 10-year payback period after the rebate. And they need to be accompanied by calculations or an energy model for their energy auditor to review, along with the regular application form. And they may require a bit more information from you, such as photographs. Applying for incentives is a fairly straightforward process. You'll be given some application forms to fill out. I believe that you can either do a paper or a digital version online, and just collects the information about your organization. And you will also need to send in things like quotes for work being done, energy bills, and then the completed worksheets. And that needs to be done before you have the work done and before you purchase any equipment. And Lindsay's team will review these and then get back to you with any questions and let you know when you can move forward with the project. And I believe the pre-approval process is generally fairly quick turnaround. There are some other rebate programs for small business. There's solar nonprofits. And I just heard from Lindsay today that they're in the midst of changing their solar rebate program. So keep an eye out for updates on that. And there is another option to look for rebates through the Affordable Multi-Housing Program. They also offer rebates not only for, as we call them, MERBs for short, like small apartment buildings, but if you are offering community services that don't have a bed, overnight accommodations in them, community support services such as a food bank, daytime shelter, warming spaces, even clothing. There's a number of things that would qualify you for additional rebates through the Affordable Multi-Housing Program, and it's definitely worth checking that out as well. So as I said before, Lindsay Leckie is your go-to person for that at Efficiency Nova Scotia. And we will share her contact information in the chat, along with a link to the small business rebate programs. So what I'd love to do now is open things up for some conversation. David, if you could allow everyone to turn their microphones on if they would like to.
Yeah,
And
sure, but we have two questions right now in
yeah,
the
so why don't we
question and
start with the
answer
questions
box.
and then turn mics on?
I can read the first two that I got it in the question and answer box.
Fantastic.
The first question is from Joanna, and Joanna said, "Do church residents count as being available from grants?"
That's a great question. Stephen, in your experience, what is included in terms of the buildings when we do these audits?
So for the grants, for the Efficiency Nova Scotia grants, the church residences typically do not count because they're a residential property. And so as a residential property, typically, and again, I'm speaking on experience across the country, so definitely want to double check this, but typically residents don't because they're actually a separate property. For some congregational spaces, we'll find them as a separate entity. Some are physically attached to the I'm thinking mostly Catholic churches where it's physically attached to the church proper, may be included in that case. Oftentimes it'll boil down to electrical and electrical panel if there's a separate meter going to that one, to that building, or if it's a separate property. So residents would then qualify for any residential grants typically as well. So excellent question. The answer is it depends. But
Thanks so
typically
much,
not.
Stephen.
Yep.
Thank you. The second question is from Rhonda. Rhonda said, "We are the sole renters of the building we use for our faith community. Are we still able to access this audit even though we don't own the building?"
Rhonda, can we unmute Rhonda?
Sure.
Thanks. So question for Rhonda, can you just give me a little more detail about where are you worshiping in a faith community building, or are you
Yeah,
worshiping?
it's a United Church congregation in Halifax. We left our old building several years ago and we're looking for a space. We don't own the physical building, but we are renting that space.
Okay. And was that space a faith community before?
No, it was a commercial space.
Yeah, see, commercial space, that's a question because, and now I'm looking to the others here. As a commercial space, I would say maybe not, because the owner's paying taxes. And so the owners, it's a different category. So I'm thinking maybe not, Rhonda.
Okay.
But I
think-
would take that straight to Efficiency Nova Scotia. Anyone else? Even Billy, Katie, any thoughts on that? Because I don't.
Yeah, I was just going to pass the buck there, Stephen. The rebates are entirely of kind of Efficiency Nova Scotia's purview. So that's definitely a question best directed at them.
Yeah.
I'd just be guessing.
In terms of the energy audit itself, would we be eligible for that component?
I can't see why not. Certainly, if you didn't, even if like the building owner were to apply for it, then certainly, I can't see why, if it's coming from the congregation, that we wouldn't be able to do that.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Rhonda, I'm happy to follow up with Lindsay and check in about where you would fit in terms of rebates and how you'd need to approach that. So if you're able to just directly send me or David your contact information, then I'll I'll get back to you when I hear back from Lindsay.
Sure, that would be great. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And I'll circle around in Rhonda for the United Church of Canada grants, the Faithful Footprints one, which I think is in the chat. I don't know, Ed. The United Church, you have to own the property.
Okay.
Apply for those ones. But again, you can always reach out to me for similar questions through the United Church Faithful Footprints grant.
Sure, great. Thank you.
David, if you want to open up the microphones for our other attendees, and then we can have general conversation, or if there's any other questions that anyone wants to ask, feel free to either pop it in the chat or sing out with your beautiful voices.
Hi there. My name's Anne Marie Kahn. I'm a sister living in Halifax, Nova Scotia. I belong to the Society of the Sacred Heart. We have a small spirituality building on Summer Street, and half of it is our residence and the other half is used for programs.
I would jump in and say that would qualify probably for an audit. Just from my experience, because it's a single building worship space. It happens to have residents in the back, but I'm only thinking, and I'm looking at Eben and Billy here as I talk out loud. This is all brand new, everyone, so we super appreciate you're helping us work through the questions. Like even some of the Buddhist temple, you know, like there's different sort of stuff going on within it. So I would think the same thing would qualify. I wouldn't have a problem with it, but that's from my vantage point. I think as long as it's a place of worship in any perspective, it would qualify.
Yeah, we have worship here every week. And we run programs in between.
Worth having a conversation with Clean Foundation then, for sure.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
no
you.
reason we can come out and do the audit piece. I'm not sure how that qualifies. Again, we'd have to check in with Lindsay at efficiency in terms of any potential grants or rebates. But
Yeah, thank you.
Stephen Solos, Beacon United Church, Yarmouth, Nova Scotia. I have a question that makes sense to me, may not make sense for other folks. Just looking specifically at the fluorescent lighting and so forth, we have a rather large building. It's about 20,000 square feet, lots of 4-foot fluorescent light fixtures. About, I'm guessing, but probably 12 to 14 years ago, we converted all of our old fluorescent fixtures to higher efficiency ballasts and lower wattage bulbs, slightly lower wattage bulbs. They've worked extremely well, and they've been super reliable. And I just have some concerns over converting to LED because I've had some bad experiences with some of the LED products that we've had. Any suggestions on that? Is there going to be a significant improvement in putting in a newer style LED bulb as opposed to the older style, higher efficiency fluorescent tubes?
Eben or Billy, you want to jump in on that one first? Any thoughts? Do you guys have any?
That's you. The lighting is you, Stephen. I'm a buildings guy.
Billy, you got any thoughts on it? I don't want to be the blah blah.
My brief thoughts on it are that would kind of need to take a look at it in situ, but that I know that LEDs have come a long way, and that you know there are all kinds of solutions for retrofitting of lighting, you know, and there could well be a solution which is plug and play, and that is that offers a greater level of reliability than the ones that you've experienced. All right, that's just speculative there on my part, but sort of, you know, that's part, you know, that's kind of a little bit about what we'd be doing when we're there is kind of like documenting everything, documenting the situation as it exists right now in your building. Even I imagine that when Even and I and some of the other folks who are going to be doing the audits, we're going to go in and we're going to see things that we haven't actually seen before, but we're going to be documenting them, and then we're going to be going away and we're going to be researching that, so that we can give you the best advice that we can, right? So that might be going to speak to people who are more expert in lighting, or maybe coming back to Stephen and seeing if he can shed some light on a certain thing that we've seen. So like in answer to the question, I think we'd maybe take a look at that there and then come back to you with a more specific answer in that situation.
Sure, thanks. And
So
that's a rather minor one. I will be most interested in jumping in for the audit. And yeah, as well as I know, Stephen, I'll be talking to you sometimes in the next couple of weeks anyway. We'd already scheduled a call at some point. So
yeah. I thought you were. I thought your name was familiar. So, but basically, for others, when you're looking at your T12 bulbs, your big bulbs, fluorescent tubes, they're 40 watt. When you go to the green-ended ones, the T8s, they're 32 watts. And when you go to an LED, they're 14 watts. So quite a significant change. The technology has dramatically changed on fluorescent / LED tubes since sort of even the last 5.5 years. 5.5 years ago, we had to change you had to disconnect the ballast to actually install them. And now many of them you don't have to anymore. Now they're plug and play. Some, not all, but they're plug and play. I think when you're looking at something like your building, your faith community, you want to be thinking about sort of a commercial bunch of them, like buying it from a commercial electrical supply, so we're getting sort of that better quality. But yeah, because we can buy LED screw-in bulbs at dollar store now and they're crap. So we want it's about the quality of the bulb, I think, and how the ballast impacts it. Yeah. But yes, you can save a lot of money, especially if renters or halls or offices where they're on maybe all week. You're going to see some energy dropping for sure by switching it to LEDs. Oh.
Yeah, that's
I'll
great.
just jump in. Sorry, go ahead.
No, jump in, Eben.
Sorry, yeah, thanks, Stephen. I know that with a lot of things, I think in energy efficiency, things tend to get judged on the first iteration that kind of rolls out. So some of the early LED bulbs had very cold light, like just kind of unappealing. I don't know what your issue would be, but I know that is a lot, and they kind of got painted with that brush. All LEDs are like that. That it's a different world when it comes to LEDs now. You can get a range of different colors and spectrums. So it's not quite as I guess a sterile kind of feel to them anymore. And I think that's the case with the tubes as well, eh, Stephen?
Yeah, for sure. Totally agree. Yeah, some of us who are the bleeding edge of nerd stuff, yeah, we go through the growing pains of it. So great point, Eben. Anyone else got any other questions?
They're saving them from when we're there, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I have lots, but I'll save them.
Hannah?
Yeah.
Before the wrap up, we have a last question, one question in the box. Linda says, we have had our rectory upgraded utilizing efficiency Nova Scotia financing. We had to pay for audit. Do we pay for this?
That's a great question, Linda. Thank you. So this particular program that we're offering is a free energy audit. And that program is running from March 1st until the end of July this year. Following that, there might be a fee for the audits. But for this particular program, we got funding to cover the costs, so the audits are free.
Can I just speak on that? I think this is a huge advantage for faith structures. I started looking at audits many years ago, and they ranged in price from $3,500 to as little as $500 for one that was very generalized. And I can't tell you how excited I was when I heard that this was going to be available. So thanks to all that went into making this happen. It's going to be a huge advantage to many, many faith organizations.
I'm so glad to hear that, Stephen. And this program is really thanks to my colleague Chris Benjamin, who is on the call tonight. So big shout out to Chris and to Claire Morley, my predecessor in this role, who through this work last year, we're listening to the churches and hearing how expensive and really too much information a very high level energy audit in the tens of thousands of dollars, by engineers was for faith organizations, just putting it way out of sight. And so they applied for funding, and it's thanks to the province's Low Carbon Communities Fund that this particular free audit program is available. So big shout out to Chris for hearing what the feedback from faith organizations that he was meeting with last year and making this happen. We feel like it's a really important part of making energy audits accessible, and something that you could actually consider doing, because it can be a big outlay up front. So if there aren't any more questions, I'd like to just really thank all of our panelists for being here tonight. Your presentations were fantastic. I love how warm you all are, and you're really enthusiastic about the work that you do. And I hope that there was a lot of learning happening for everyone here. And if you have any questions, please feel free to follow up with us directly. You can email me directly. And you can also reach out to us more generally. And please sign up for your free energy audit through the sign up form. And I'll just share my email with David to put in the chat. So thanks so much for being here with us. And just want to give a little plug. The next Better Building Speaker Series will be with Barry Osman from Gitbo Renew, talking about that organization and the work that they do in the Indigenous community. So thanks again, and have a great night, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.